Top Democrats and Republicans in Congress today released a $78 billion compromise they have reached to expand the child tax credit and restore three popular expired business tax breaks. But the package faces a challenging road to enactment, particularly in an election year. The plan includes $33 billion to partly extend a major expansion of the child tax credit that was initially beefed up for 1 year as part of the sweeping 2021 pandemic aid law, and another $33 billion to reinstate a set of expired business tax benefits related to research, business, and capital deductions. Both would last through 2025. And Donald J. Trump had a decisive victory in Iowa last night, and that victory revealed a new depth to the reservoir of devotion inside the Republican Party. Iowa Republicans, following the lead of party officials across the country, rallied behind the former president despite a list of reasons to reject him. Republicans lost control of the presidency, the Senate, and the House during Trump's 4 years in office. Trump failed to deliver the red wave of victories he promised in 2022 during the midterms. He also has been charged with 91 felonies and 4 criminal cases this past year, and a civil defamation trial began today in New York City involving E. Jean Carroll. But despite the list of reasons not to elect Donald Trump, he won with over 51% of the Iowa votes. Ron DeSantis of Florida may have done just enough in the Iowa caucuses to argue that he still belongs in the race to defeat Trump for the Republican presidential nomination. But his distant second place finish had all the feelings of a disaster, given how much time and money he invested in the state. It also called into question his ability to stay in the race with his campaign cash running low, and the tough test ahead in New Hampshire and South Carolina, where Nikki Haley is the favorite to be the second place winner. And Vivek Ramaswamy, he got the message last night, and he has bowed out of the Republican campaign for president. And in doing so, he endorsed none other than Donald J. Trump. 100 days after the consensus on Capitol Hill shows signs of fraying, as left-wing Democrats are alarmed by the rising human toll of the war in Gaza. Many on the left, including Bernie Sanders, have been pressing for Democrats to do more to reel in the actions of Israel. Now, this effort has divided Democrats and spurred an intensive lobbying counter effort by pro-Israel groups. It will reach a peak later today when the Senate votes on a resolution that would freeze all U.S. security aid to Israel unless the State Department produces a report within 30 days examining whether the country committed human rights violations in its conduct of the war. And a new dynamic is unfolding in the presidential primaries, with Trump and Haley's campaign shifting to one-on-one combat as the race charges to the next phase with an unexpected competitive contest in New Hampshire. Team Trump is unleashing a level of vitriol against Haley and spending millions of dollars on ads. We haven't seen this yet from Donald Trump, who heretofore hadn't taken Haley or any of the other competitors very seriously. Trump has said Nikki should get out while people still talk about her for 2028. Or he says she'll end up like all the 2016s that nobody thinks of as future presidents anymore. Rapper and entrepreneur Sean Diddy Combs has withdrawn his lawsuit against Diego as part of a settlement with the London-based spirits giant. Combs and Diego have now agreed to resolve all disputes between them. The two parties said in a statement released today, Diego is the sole owner of Ciroc Vodka and De Leon Tequila, two brands that P. Diddy had part-owned and promoted in the past. He currently has no business relationships with either of these entities going forward. This is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. In this hour, I'm joined by two brilliant contributors, Dr. Omikango Dibinga. He is a senior professor and lecturer at American University, and Rashad Frazier Gaines. He is the founder of Black Progressives. And in hour two, you know what we do? That's the hour where we go behind the headlines and bring you those stories that people are talking about. And today, the story we are bringing you, because we think it's so important, is a story about your health. Imagine this. What if you learn that a diagnosis given to you in the hospital is wrong or was wrong when given to you, and that because of that wrong diagnosis, you would likely end up in an ICU unit or possibly dead? Well, in hour two, we are bringing you a shocking new report that's out that says that if you are a person of color, the chances of that happening to you are somewhere around 30%. Yes, people of color, when we go into the hospital, we now have to worry about the diagnosis that is provided to us. This is going to be a really important show. Anybody that cares about your health, anybody that has been hospitalized or can imagine being hospitalized in the future, or your loved ones going to a hospital, make sure you stick around and learn how you can prevent ending up in an ICU unit, or worse, ending up in a morgue as a result of a hospital stay. But before I bring on my guest, here's what I'm thinking in real time. Last night, the Emmys, some folks are saying Emmys so black because there was an African-American host. Anthony Anderson was the host. Black folks were displayed throughout the awards. We saw Black folks like Quinta Bronson winning the first time for Best Actress in a comedy series. Young Black actress won for her role in Bear. And then there was Niecy Nash Betts, who won for her supporting role in the Dahmer docuseries that was on Netflix. And Niecy Nash Betts had the internet today just all lit up. People have been talking about Niecy all day. And it's because of her very unique and very powerful acceptance speech on that Emmy stage last night. So Niecy Nash is sitting in the audience, and they're reading out the folks that are nominated for Best Supporting Actress in a docuseries, and her name is called. And, you know, in this very dramatic fashion, she jumps up and her partner helps her to the stage. She's wearing this gorgeous black strapless dress, long flowing hair, black gloves, you know, looking like a movie star. And she starts to thank folks. She's thanking Netflix. She's thanking Ryan Murphy. She's thanking her team. And then she does something that stuns the audience. She says she wanted to thank herself. Yes, Niecy says, look, I want to thank myself for being resilient, for hanging in there, for not giving up when other folks thought she could not achieve the level of success that she has achieved. Then she went on to say that her award was being dedicated to Black and brown women who are often unseen and unheard. And she called Sandra Bland, she called Breonna Taylor, a couple of other names. And you could see the response from the audience. First of all, they panned to the audience, and some faces were shocked. Some folks were giggling. Some folks were on their feet cheering her on, you know, giving her high five, fist bumps. And as wonderful and as empowering as that was, then she went on to the Variety after party, one of the big after parties after the Emmys, and she was interviewed there. And I love this interview as much as I loved her acceptance speech. And they asked her, like, you know, is it a little unusual to thank yourself? Kind of suggesting that maybe it was, you know, vanity or narcissistic or somehow inappropriate. And she just, you know, she spoke the quiet part out loud. And she says, look, when you are a Black woman in this industry, a woman of color, and you get to this level of success, and I'm paraphrasing, so make sure you Google and look up this interview because it's very impressive and very powerful. But basically, she's saying, yes, it's okay to congratulate yourself. She says it's not called mama esteem, it's called self-esteem. And that you often have to encourage yourself. You have to affirm yourself. You have to be your biggest cheerleader particularly in those moments. And she said she went through a period where she was really down, depressed, and didn't feel like she was going to make it in this very tough industry called Hollywood. And she credited her significant other, her partner, but she talked about how important it is to just recognize how far you have come and maybe how much work you have put into something. So I've been sending that video around, send it to my daughter, send it to a bunch of other people, referenced it this morning in a staff meeting. But I think it's really, really great in this moment when Black women are under attack, whether you are Taraji P. Henson or you are Dr. Claudine Gay, first Black woman president, former president of Harvard, to have an African-American woman like Niecy Nash, who doesn't fit in any box. She's not fair-skinned. She doesn't have long, natural wavy hair. She's not a size 0 or 2. She is a full-fledged Black woman with hips and lips and butts and dark skin and kinky hair and all of the above. But she reminded us that we are important and we should be seen and heard. Thank you, thank you, thank you to Niecy Nash Betts. And congratulations on your Emmy. When we come forward, more of today's breaking and trending news right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin, don't you stop on the party. This is most of it back in everybody. Something soft and hella nice. My crib is always stocked. It's our party.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Okay, confession time. I just shopped Kohl's clearance and I might have gone a little overboard. But who can blame me with all the major markdowns going on? I saved 70% on so many great finds, like cozy fleece sweats, comfy PJs, a cute sweater, stylish jeans, and I could keep going. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on Kohl's clearance major markdowns. And if you see me there again, no you didn't. Select styles, up to 70% clearance offer ends January 21st. Some exclusions apply. See store or kohls.com for details.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows the Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste, so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no two people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart, it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. The Queen Sleep Number C2 smart bed is now only $9.90. Plus, free home delivery when you add any base. Ends Monday. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
We are back with Dr. Omikongo Dabinga and Rashad Frazier Gaines. All right, yesterday was a big night, Dr. Dabinga, for the Republicans. Not a whole lot of surprises. Donald Trump trounced on his competitors in that race, securing more than 50% of the Iowa votes. And that happened even though there was a snowstorm and below freezing temperatures. Folks came out and they voted in mass for Donald Trump, despite that laundry list of things that I read in the opening about what's going on with Donald Trump. Any surprises on your part in terms of what happened last night?
No real surprises, you know.
You sound sad.
I mean, I'm kind of excited in a way because I really do believe that when it comes to the general election, I do not believe that Donald Trump stands a chance against Biden, despite all of the issues of the Biden administration. Iowa, you know, it's majority, you know, white in terms of its base and the like, and Trump is going to do that. He's going to run the numbers in most of the Republican primaries across the country because that demographic is majority white, and they've decided who they want. So many of these polls have, you know, shown that someone like a Nikki Haley would do better against a Biden in a general election, but the Republican Party doesn't want it. So, you know, it was a great win and a big night for Donald Trump, but I think overall it was a bigger loss for the Republican Party. I just don't believe, you know, and again, this is all circumstantial. We don't know what's going to happen, but I believe that as he continues to go forward with these cases and, you know, his most extreme base is going to continue to come out. But I just don't believe that they have the numbers in a general election, particularly with so many more people defining themselves as independent now. And for many of the people who define themselves as independent, even if they appreciate some of Trump's policies and wouldn't mind a tougher stance on this or that, his character is a big issue for many people who identify as independents. And then many people are identifying as independents because of issues relating to Roe v. Wade and the like. And so I believe that Democrats need to also make sure that they're keeping Roe v. Wade in front and center, keeping that on the ballot as well, because stories around immigration and other things are starting to take attention in the media. So they have to make sure that they're controlling the narrative, because the Republicans have gotten really strong at controlling narratives. And if Democrats lose narratives, they will lose this election. So yeah, big night for Trump, but the Republican Party, given what's happened in the last few electoral cycles, they're going to be hopefully the biggest loser.
So Rashad, one of the things that obviously Trump doesn't feel like he totally has this, you know, on lock, because he is going after Nikki Haley pretty viciously, spending millions of dollars, which we haven't seen him do heretofore, but yet he feels like he's got to make sure that Nikki Haley doesn't have some kind of upset in New Hampshire and then moves into her own state, South Carolina. What do you make of that? Is Trump more nervous than he's letting on?
I don't think so, actually. I don't think he's nervous at all. The one thing that white men do not like in America is a smart woman, whether she's white or black, right? And so I think Donald Trump is doing what Republicans typically do. They attack women, and they attack white women, and then they attack, you know, all of the other minorities. So I don't see this as anything different than we would have seen had he not trounced the 2016 field the way he did. We didn't really see him really campaigning. Like, he had pretty much won the Republican primary before the debate even started. They literally held the debate stage for him to decide whether or not he was running. So I don't think that we're seeing anything different, but now what we are seeing is him actually having to campaign. And if Nikki Haley is his biggest opponent, he's going to go after her with all the vitriol and all of the hate and all of the usual tactics that we would have seen from him. Trump is a very nasty man. He's going to give it everything that he has. And the thing that's crazy, like, there are so many things that he could attack when it comes to her as a governor in South Carolina and her policies, but he's not going to do that. He's going to attack her personhood. He's going to attack her creed and her nationality. He's going to attack her race. He's going to attack her marriage and her children. And I guess the part of me that's confusing is everything that we teach our kids not to be. The people who value family values are voting for the man that is literally the
Everything.
antithesis of what we want our children to grow up and be like.
Well, I don't know. That's a good point, Rashad. I don't know what these Republicans would say they want their kids to grow up to be, because you're right. I mean, we want our kids to grow up and not tell lies. And a man tells a lie every time he opens his mouth. You know, you tell your kids to be honorable. He's dishonorable. I mean, so we could just go down
And
the
not
list.
violate women, and not call people, not pick on people who are differently able.
Yes,
And not hate people
absolutely.
because of the color of their skin, and not get people thrown in jail just because we can, you know.
Not hire lawyers and not pay your bills.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Not file bankruptcy just so you don't have to pay people who built buildings for you.
Right, all those things. Kind of interesting. So, Dr. Domingo, you're on a college campus. You know, there's a report out about a couple of days ago that college-educated white folks who found Trump repugnant, who just, you know, just cringed at the thought of him when he first ran for president, have now come over into the fold. They are under the tent. So, you know, to Rashad's point, these are the genteel people. These are the people, you know, who would never be in a room with a man who uses the language that he uses, the way he talks about women, you know, would never openly say they voted for someone that, you know, calls women the kinds of names that he calls women. But yet there is a huge number of educated white folks who are now saying they will vote for Donald Trump. Are you seeing that amongst the young white kids on your campus, these, you know, the educated college students on your campus?
I am not seeing that with them, but in many of these, you know, liberal leaning universities, a lot of these Trump supporters, they're not very vocal. You know, if they're in a very small minority on campus, they have experience. You know, on my first day at American University's campus, I heard, you know, this was back in 2015, you know, a conservative student said, I learned what I could say and not say on this campus on the first day of class. And, you know, it just kind of spoke to the climate of how, you know, many who identify in conservative spaces don't feel entirely supported in many of our campuses across the country. So it wouldn't surprise me that many of them are not as vocal, though they may lean that way. But those who are college educated and graduated and the like, that completely, you know, makes sense to me. And I think part of the reason is it kind of goes to an article I wrote this year for this week on MLK. A lot of it kind of goes with this idea of diversity fatigue. I feel like some of these, you know, white educated people feel like Biden has done too much as it relates to his DEI efforts. And of course, we don't feel like he's done enough, but, you know, going and speaking at AME and all of these other types of things. And they're kind of like, you know, kind of pump the brakes. And so ultimately this idea of, you know, whiteness for, and I'm playing, you know, pun intended, Trump's, you know, other issues, you know, when it comes to voting and the like. They want, you know, freedom for us as on an installment plan that Dr. King talked about often. And so if they feel like a Democrat is going too far with some of their initiatives, I can see why they would move over to, then you add in immigration and all the do stuff at the border, shut it down. I can see how they could feel threatened by that and gravitate towards him, unfortunately.
But if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying these white people, educated people, are going over to Trump or buying into kind of this replacement theory, or this notion that somehow as the country gets browner, you know, their piece of the pie is getting smaller?
Well, one of the things I said in my article is that these Christopher Rufos of the world, they can't be successful in getting rid of people like Claudine Gay without white liberal complicity. And so it's not like they're going to outright embrace the racist policies, but they don't necessarily want to have more Black people, more Latino people, more Asian people competing against them for jobs or competing against their kids for jobs. You know, they don't want so many of them right next to them in their neighborhood. And this isn't for all of them. But again, it's just like we saw after George Floyd was murdered and people committed all of these money to diversity programs and this and that. And we have seen throughout the last, you know, few years that money is not panned out. They talked a good game, but a lot of the money that went out went in the form of loans and things that companies could still profit off of. So people talk a good game about wanting equality, but when people start to actually get that equality, it's just like pump the brakes a little bit. We let you go from A to C, but don't try to go to D, E, and F right now. And if Trump can slow that down, they'll embrace some of his policies in order to be able to squeak through and still be able to remain competitive by not having to deal with as many people in the browning of America right now.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Rashad, because if you had nothing to do and had a lot of free time and you read Bill Ackman's 5,000, 7,000 word post, he said exactly that. He says, wait a minute, after George Floyd, we let the gates open too widely and too many people ran into, DEI positions, and we let Black folks start using words like microaggression, and they started canceling us because we were so-called racist. And he was the first to say, consistent with what you just said, Dr. Dominga, that we needed to pump the brakes, slow things down, put folks back in their place, remind folks whose country this is. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but that's, if you read it, that's exactly what he was saying, because we know that this notion that Black folks got super ahead, and 3 months after George Floyd was murdered, we had like a 3-6 month window. We didn't see all of this Black progress that he claims happened, that they now need to reverse. Which is a lot of what we're seeing. And I guess you're right. That's what some of these college educated voters are saying. Well, I don't mind the criminal charges. I don't mind all of the, the criminality around him and the other things that would make him a candidate not even qualified to run, as long as he's going to pump the brakes. When we come forward, we got to talk about the war. Bernie Sanders is stepping up, and we know Bernie Sanders has a big platform and a lot of followers. How might this impact Biden's chances at the polls if you have Bernie Sanders out saying ceasefire or else? Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of Areva Martin when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. recently held a roundtable with Black women in Atlanta to discuss pressing issues impacting the Black community. He tells the Black Information Network he wants to continue his family's legacy of working towards true equality for all Americans. Kennedy also said having charter schools and school choice will allow the Black community to access better education opportunities. He is running as the independent presidential candidate. The city of Chicago is expected to respond to a lawsuit brought by several African-American firefighters before the month is over. Attorney Chiquita Hall-Jackson says that a judge ruled that the 1995 fire test was discriminatory in the way it was graded, and more than 100 Black applicants who took the exam were restored in every category except promotions. The lawsuit is now seeking back pay for the firefighters even as they near retirement. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton, on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Keeping you updated with the latest out of Granada Hills. Accident's been cleared on the 5 North before Roxford Street, and watch for a slight delay from Brand Boulevard up to about 15 minutes. Over in South Pasadena's 110 North after Orange Grove Avenue, a car fire is currently in the right lane, and at some points, fire crews are shutting down all lanes temporarily to clear and exit. Over in West Covina's 10 East before Villa Verde, a stall is blocking the right lane, causing heavy traffic flow in the area. And in Carson, watch for a stall blocking the second lane from the left of the 110 North at Carson Street, and heavy traffic flow coming from Sepulveda Boulevard.
At Mattress Firm's once-a-year sale and clearance, you can save up to 60% on select mattresses. Plus, score a free adjustable base on qualifying purchases. Here's to better sleep in 2024. The right mattress matters, and Mattress Firm will find yours.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Two of the NFL's 3 Black head coaches are still competing in the playoffs. Mike Tomlin's season ended Monday when his Pittsburgh Steelers were eliminated by Buffalo. Tomlin is the dean of Black head coaches in the NFL. Monday's loss concluded his 17th season with Pittsburgh. Tomlin is under contract with Pittsburgh through the 2024 season. Houston's DeMeco Ryans has his team in the AFC divisional playoffs. Houston is at Baltimore on Saturday. Tampa Bay's Todd Bowles has his team in the NFC divisional round. Tampa Bay is at Detroit on Sunday. The Chargers have requested to interview Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris for their head coaching vacancy. 2 other Black assistant coaches have been interviewed already. 49ers defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes and former Buffalo defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580. That's right. Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580. By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your beer. Keep the leader when the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. The leader. The leader. The leader.
COVID-19 renter protections are ending for City of Los Angeles tenants. Know your rights and these 3 facts. February 1st is the deadline to pay rental arrears for rent owed from October 1st, 2021 to January 31st, 2023. Residential tenants cannot be evicted without a reason or just cause. You have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice from the court. Learn more at housing.lacity.org. That's housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no two people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart, it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. The Queen Sleep Number C2 smart bed is now only $9.90. Plus, free home delivery when you add any base. Ends Monday. Price is higher in Alaska and Hawaii. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
You're all set with your Medicare prescriptions, Mrs. Brown.
This is not just low-cost copays at Walgreens.
I can actually help you set up 90-day refills if you want.
This is having a partner you can trust. Get low-cost copays, 90-day refills, and delivery from your neighborhood Walgreens. This is being independent. Together. Walgreens.
Restrictions apply. For details, see walgreens.com/pharmacy.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. Let music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, we are back and we are breaking down today's trending and breaking news. And in hour 2, we are going to bring you a new study about your health. Some of the findings in this study are absolutely positively shocking. Findings that suggest that going to a hospital, even a hospital that may be considered a trusted hospital, could have dire consequences, even lethal consequences, if you are a person of color. So make sure you stick around for hour 2. In this hour, Rashad and Dr. Domingo, we are talking about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders says he wants a ceasefire and he wants to push a resolution that would freeze all U.S. aid to Israel unless the State Department produces a report within 30 days to examine this issue of human rights violations. We know South Africa has been very forceful in putting forth a resolution that Israel has engaged in human rights violations, genocide, and they've gone as far as calling it. But now there are these pro-Israel forces that are fighting back. How's all of this going to play out? Particularly when Biden starts to, really, when the campaign really heats up for the Democrats, Biden's going to have a problem because Bernie Sanders has a huge, or has had a huge following.
So there's no question about it. Normally, if you're looking for a person in the Senate or a person on Capitol Hill, period, who's going to be on the side of the people and normally on the right side, in the House, it's going to be Congresswoman Barbara Lee from Oakland. And in the Senate, it's going to be Senator Bernie Sanders from Burlington, Vermont. We're at this weird place right now where all of the, as Malcolm X said, all of the chickens are coming home to roost. Every faction of the Democratic Party that has always been told, wait your turn, wait your turn, wait your turn, There are these polarizing incidents and issues that are happening and popping up where we're no longer able to tell them to go wait their turn. Like, you're gonna have to deal with this now. And if you don't deal with it, people are gonna stay home. I don't think that there's a single person who's voting Democrat who's gonna vote for Trump or vote for Robert Kennedy. But what I do think will happen, will people will stay home. I do think people will not self-mobilize. I do think people will not register folks to vote in factions like they have in the past. And so President Biden, Vice President Harris, the Senate, the House Dems, the DNC as a whole, state party levels, these congressional races, even down to the local level, people are going to have to start talking to people in real talk, having real conversations and affecting, championing public policy that meets the needs of the people who are voting for them.
You know, one thing is interesting. I'm looking at a poll that says that there's a level of enthusiasm for a ceasefire, especially among young voters and key Democratic constituents. So you have these dark money groups and these supporters of Israel and Netanyahu and their government committing to spend epic amounts of campaign funds to defeat progressive House members who support a ceasefire in Gaza. So you have, there's one American Israel Public Affairs Committee and its allies could spend as much as $100 million to boost primary challenges to popular incumbent Democrats, such as Cori Bush in Missouri, Rashida Tlaib in Michigan. And I'm sorry?
They're attacking the squad, but they're not going anywhere. They can spend all the money they want to. Cori Bush ain't going nowhere. Rashida ain't going nowhere. Ilhan Omar ain't going nowhere. AOC ain't going nowhere. Jamal Bryant ain't going nowhere. Ayanna Presley isn't going anywhere. These are people who are doing the work in their community. And they're not just finding these policy measures out of thin air. These are the things that the people who vote for them care about. They can spend all of the money and ads that they want. These 6 members of Congress aren't going anywhere.
So where does this put our president and vice president? Because we do know moderate Democrats, Adam Schiff being one of them, running for Senate in the state of California, and others, a lot of Democratic Congress people and senators are opposed to a ceasefire. So here's Biden and Harris in the middle of a party on the left that's saying ceasefire and only support candidates that are calling for it. And then on the, I'll call them the middle of the parties, they're not on the right, but the middle, the moderate Dems, Dr. Dominga saying no.
Look, even though when it comes down to elections, ultimately Americans think more so about domestic policy when it comes down to it at the end of the day. I do believe, however, that this conflict, Israel Hamas, that's the main thing that could possibly derail Biden's campaign. You know, going off of, you know, what Rashad was saying about enough people just choosing to stay home. I mean, there was an Israeli member of government, Yitzhak Brick, who said something to the effect in recent days that we could not be dropping these bombs that we're doing right now without the United States support. As soon as they cut off the spigot, we are done. We cannot do, so these bombs, that are dropping, have U.S. flags on them, and people are seeing that and they're hearing that. And that is, a lot for people to be able to digest in the United States. And so in places like Michigan, where you have a very strong, Arab population, a very strong Muslim population, people actively saying that they will not vote for Biden in any way, shape, or form. I believe them. You have a member of, but one of Biden's first appointees just resigned this past week. You've had other members of the administration who have resigned, but people who are actually been appointed by Biden have not resigned. And there's one brother from the Department of Education, a Palestinian American, he resigned this week because of this. So my point is that this is so, and then you have Bernie Sanders, many young people affectionately call Uncle Bernie. This is a Jewish man. He's talking about this as well. And so, the Biden campaign really, and then he's surpassed Congress, twice to send more weapons to Israel. And these stories are starting to get out. And there's a lot of people who are just not going to stand for that. Now, we all know that the alternative is worse. We know that if Trump gets in, it's going to be worse, even if that's imaginable. But a lot of people don't care about the alternative right now. And, my thing is, I support Biden because I'm going to keep pushing him towards a ceasefire and use my platform and work with others who want to do that. Because I know if Trump comes in, Gaza, all of that is gone. It's complete. There's nothing coming back. And we have to be strategic as it relates to that right now. But Biden's full embrace of Netanyahu and the IDF is going to be a serious problem going into the rest of this year.
I'm glad you brought that up, and you use full embrace. I think that's probably a little strong because I don't think Biden fully embraces. I think Biden feels that he has no choice. But we do know, Rashad, that Trump fully embraces Netanyahu, and we know he will stand firmly behind, his tough man talk about no one's going to push us around. We're not going to end this war until we say it's time to end it. And we're not interested in a two-state solution. We know Donald Trump has already said, he's going to be rounding up Palestinians in the U.S. and doing some kind of, loyalty test and perhaps, deporting folks. How do we get that word out to folks? And I agree with you, Dr. Dominga. Right now, folks aren't thinking about the alternative, but we need to cause them to think about the alternative, because if they think they hate the policies of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on Israel, they have not seen anything yet, because Donald Trump moved the capital to Jerusalem.
That's right.
To appease Netanyahu. That is his boy. So we've got to make sure folks understand it ain't where we want it to be, but it could be, as you said, Dr. Domingo, a whole lot worse.
Areva, I don't disagree with you, but I would say that folks are considering what the alternative is. And for people who have always been pushed to the back of the line, they're tired. Every group under the Democratic Party tent at this moment right now has an issue on the ballot. And they've always been told, wait your turn, we'll get it next time. Wait your turn, we'll get it next time. Well, next time is here. Biden's job is to figure out how to appease the masses. He's the one running for president. He needs to figure it out.
Well, come on, that's not fair, Rashad. The president only has so much. No, the president figured out what to do around student loan debt. And then he got smacked down by a Republican Congress and smacked down by a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court.
That is a very diplomatic way to look at that, Miss Areva. However,
that is the factual way to look at it.
He didn't want to do anything about student loans in the first place. Let's be fair about that.
Oh, I don't agree with that. We're going to agree to disagree about that. Biden is definitely not done everything that he could do, but I think he has done more than so many other presidents. He doesn't get nearly enough credit for. We have some of the lowest unemployment rates in this country, including amongst Black folks. Wages are higher in certain states in this country than they've ever been. We have a president that has a positive relationship with labor unions and is in favor of higher wages for laborers, unions. We have inflation that is coming down. Now, the president, unfortunately, is not a magician. They have to have a Congress, they've got to have a Senate, and they have to have, and we now know, a court. Because even if you get laws passed with a 6-3 court, those laws won't survive, because that's what's happening around Roe v. Wade and so many other laws like affirmative action. When we come forward, I want to get Dr. Domingo to weigh in on the student loan debt. You're at a college, so I'm sure you have something to say on that. And then Nikki Haley says she's not doing any more debates with Ron DeSantis. She said Donald Trump shows up or nothing. So CNN and ABC are saying, bye, girl, because we can't get Donald Trump to show up. So the party on the Republican side is going through a little chaos right now. Talk about all of that and more when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I feel occasional burning and stabbing in my hands as I age.
I sometimes feel numbness and tingling in my feet as I get older.
It's starting to get in the way of doing what I love.
At Nervive, we hear you and we can help. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use.
Now that I know, I'm taking control.
Try Nervive Nerve Relief and say yes to healthy nerves.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Single Moms Planet is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting under-resourced single mom business owners and working mothers nationwide. Single Moms Planet offers comprehensive programs of financial literacy, business development, mentorship, and entrepreneurial training. They provide education, accountability, and hope. Single Moms Planet was founded by model, TV personality, and producer Nefertiri Plessy. Nefertiri felt firsthand the challenges that face single moms as she was raised by a working single mother. She learned that the most disadvantaged group in the United States are single mom families. According to the U.S. Census, 30% live under the poverty line. So she decided to do something about it, along with co-founder Cole Patterson. Their goal is to end the poverty cycle in single mother households through education, opportunity, and networking, providing family and child enrichment programs for under-resourced single-parent families. Single Moms Planet serves over 10,000 single moms and their children each year. Studies show that business development and financial literacy provide a positive environment for children and families, exposing them to new possibilities and opportunities. To attend one of their fun events, make a donation, or get more information, or if you need help as a single mom, please visit singlemomsplanet.org. That's singlemomsplanet.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, I am talking with Dr. Omikanga Dabinga and Rashad Frazier Gaines. I want you to weigh in real quickly on this student loan question. Rashad and I seem to have a difference of opinion about what happened on student loans. I'm right, but we're gonna give my brother give him some love. I love Rashad, but go ahead, Dr. Dabinga.
I think that you're right. Look, if this President Biden today is not the same Biden from the 80s, from the 90s, or the early 2000s. I mean, everything from Anita Hill to the crime bill and so on and so forth. This is a man who at this stage of life, this Biden tends to have more compassion for more people. And whether it's student loans, whether it's a child tax credit, that you talked about at the beginning of the show, he wants to do more in this country to help more people be able to get over. And when it comes to the student loans and the like, people have to, it's very popular as relates to my campus, but we also have to be mindful that this student loan debt forgiveness, particularly people who've been paying 10 years on and so on and so forth, these aren't kids in college now. These are older people with families, homes, jobs, and the like, people in our age range as well, who are getting these benefits. So a lot of times Republicans like to play it off as some, like random kid who doesn't want to go and work at Starbucks to pay off their bills and, they're just lazy and don't care. But this is affecting many different parts of the population. So I believe that Biden is genuine about it. And one of the reasons I know I want to get, I have a daughter who's going to be entering college in the fall. I want programs like this to continue in some way, shape, or form. So I more power to him, and Republicans are going to work to block it. But I believe that this is part of a more compassionate Biden that more people are appreciative of. Look at the medical, look what's happening with the diabetes drugs and the insulin and all of these, $35, all of those things, tackling, big pharma and stuff. I think that comes from a place of sincerity and genuine compassion.
Yeah, I think you're right. As you get older, obviously, this is a different Biden, a Biden that gave us Kamala Harris, a Biden that gave us Ketanji Brown Jackson, and so many other advances. It's a difficult job. And I'm not making excuses for him. He ran for the office. He's a grown man. He knew what he was getting into. But governing in this moment for any elected official is not easy because of the partisan politics. I was reading an article, Rashad, Republicans, this is how obstinate they are. Just to scorn or just to get back at, I guess, Nancy Pelosi, they eliminated, when they got into power, they eliminated voting by proxy. Because anything Nancy Pelosi had to do with, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. Now their numbers are so slim. They may not even have a 218 majority when you count people like George Santos. You count folks like Kevin McCarthy that are resigning, Steve Scalise, who's getting cancer treatment, older members that can't travel in these inclement weather, inclement temperatures. So there is a real fear that this week and for the next couple of weeks, as the budget comes up and shutting down the government, is an issue that's going to face our Congress. They may not have 218 people because Steve Scalise, who under Nancy Pelosi could have voted by proxy because he can't get there. The man's getting cancer treatment. They did away with that. So we have a party in the Republicans who are just so anti everything, even when it causes them pain. So they're sitting there now. Really, I mean, Hakeem might be the speaker because they may fall under the number of Democrats in Congress. I mean, that's a real possibility. I see. I always find agreement with you. See, you and I always tussle, and then we always come back together.
Listen, the after party that I'm going to have when we name the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of New York Speaker of the House is going to be epic.
Yeah.
Please make sure you are in DC.
I will. Can't wait for that. Well, let me ask you this about, you mentioned something about Robert Kennedy. Another report out. Robert Kennedy's in Atlanta. And you know who he's meeting with? Black women. And you know what he's talking about?
Mamas.
Charter schools.
Talking about
school choice. Is that resonating?
I think down south, absolutely. Like down south, and I want to be very clear, this is not an attack against the city of Atlanta public schools. But down south, when we look at public education, it's not the best when it comes to Black boys. It's not the best when it comes to Black girls. It's not the best when it comes to servicing children with disabilities and different abilities, right? So for a lot of families who've had to put their sons on Ritalin at an early age so that they could not be kicked out of school, right? There are so many things that have happened. The school to prison pipeline is a real thing down south. For a lot of families, getting a voucher to put your kid in a good school,
sounds like a good idea.
Don't sound like a bad thing, especially when I know LeBron got a scholarship to a good school, and look at LeBron, right? That sounds funny, but sometimes the only thing people can see is what they actually see.
No, that's a good point. So do you see Kennedy making headway with that, solid and reliable Democratic voting bloc?
So let's go back to what you were just saying about, right? We just had a conversation about people making a choice and drawing lines in the sand. I think people will entertain a conversation with Robert Kennedy, but when it comes down to it, I don't know if Black people trust the third party vote enough to move. They would probably rather sit home and not vote than vote third party.
Is that your sense, Domingo? Dr. Domingo, what do you think about that? That's an interesting, perspective that Black voters are going to be a little shy about voting for a third party candidate.
I think it depends on the candidate. I mean, I think, there'll be more Black people willing to vote for Cornel West, versus a Kennedy. But I think generally speaking, I agree with Rashad that, many Black people would either stay home, rather than, get out and vote for a third party. But, those types of the world, the Cornel West of the world, they can definitely, become an issue. But I think at the end of the day, this is part of the reason why this is the time now where Biden needs to get the Biden coalition out there, the Wes Moores, the Obamas, both Obamas, there's so many rock stars in the Democratic Party who are on the national level as well on the local level who can get out there and really speak to the people. And, Biden has started off the year with 2 or 3 strong speeches. He's putting himself out there. Mitch Landrieu, he left the administration to get on the campaign trail. Heard him on TV this morning talking real strong. They need to get out that type of information to start controlling the narrative. And then those black women and people who Kennedy's meeting with, they're going to be like, well, yeah, you're saying this, but Wes Moore's coming down here and he's saying this is what's going on. And the, popular Atlanta politicians and the like, those types of people are going to help keep black people relatively, in the fold versus what some of these third-party candidates are doing. And I do believe that black women are still going to be number 1 in 2024, and black men are still going to be number 2 for Biden in 2024. But just like we're talking about here, it's just going to be a matter of how much.
All right, you got 30 seconds, Rashad. Take us home.
Listen, it's still Joe Biden is the president and he's running for president. It is his job to figure out how to appease his voters. And I'll leave it with that. That's his job. I don't work for the man. He needs to figure it out.
All right, that's a good way to take us home. I'm going to say yes to Wes Moore being on the campaign trail because Wes Moore is so popular right now. I think he could do a lot of damn. Yeah, he
That's
is.
my governor. He's amazing.
Yes, he is phenomenal. Oh, both of you. And he's my friend. So I'd love to see him out there more. And the Obamas, yes, we need both of them out on that campaign trail. We are out of time. Thank you so much. Always a lively conversation with the two of you. Thank you for joining me. When we come forward, information about your health you do not want to miss. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
All right. Thank you. Bye.